If you run a business, however big or small, and you wonder whether you're doing things the hard way or the right way, you could be in the right place. This is Our Journey to a Million, two ordinary blokes in business. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Martin. And it is morning, isn't it? People don't realise what time we're starting, but we do. We have our morning chat. So yes.
Yeah, we do.
Good morning, everybody.
Excellent. Good. It's good that you've pointed that out. So swiftly on, I'm going to pass the baton to you this week for you to guide us through a half an hour of waffle and chat. Off you go.
Off I go. Okay. Well, here I am, unaccustomed as I am to podcast speaking. Before Martin tells you, we had a technical issue this morning and it resulted in me switching on my microphone, which caused much hilarity to Martin. So there we go. My week has been... We're involved in the lawn care industry, as you know, but I think lots of businesses are seasonal. So I sat there this week analysing nearly 20 years of weather given to me by my next-door neighbour who diligently records it all. And the outcome for us people based on a business that works on the weather is there's no conclusive answers, really.
Well, I was thinking like that it would be much more useful if you could tell me what the weather was going to be like this year rather than the last 20 years.
That's what I was trying to find out, and I did some predictions, but its insight was saying, looking across from 2007 to 2025, you've had summers that fall into three categories. Because one of the things I did is that I actually sort of on my analysis of the data actually then look at the summer sort of weather, so March through till sort of September time, and it said that our weather falls over that period into three categories: prolonged wet, which was very rare; mixed showery, which is the majority of years; and dry and stressy has been the third one. But the most common outcome is that mixed summer with volatility rather than extreme drought. So hopefully for us lawn care people, we're not going to have the same sort of conditions that we had last year. So that's my spreadsheet of the day for you there, Martin. I don't know whether I can keep this sort of pressure up of having a spreadsheet for a week.
It's delightful, John. It's delightful. And I suppose, I mean, like you said, we're in lawn care, but it must have an impact on lots of different industries. I'm thinking about winters with plumbers and very cold winters, ice cream sales in the summer. You can plan all you like, but until you actually get into the season and the weather rears its sometimes ugly face, you don't know what you're going to do you?
Yeah, and I think what it does do, it makes me realise that the decision that we made years ago that we'll just get on anyway, we won't change our scheduling because what the weather may be like, we'll actually make those decisions on the day.
Absolutely.
Because what I also know is, although we work in quite a tight area, it could be raining in one area but perfectly sunny in another. I think that's...
I agree entirely. I mean, we have customers sort of ringing us 3 weeks in advance and saying, it's far too wet, it's far too cold. And you're like, you're 3 weeks off. Let's see what it's like on the day. If it's too wet or if it's too cold on the day, then no problem. But let's not make that decision now, because even the weather forecast a day in advance, and like you say, regionally, it changes. So I would never make that decision till the day, because you could lose out on business.
Yeah. So, Martin, sort of slightly off the weather, but still on the weather, I suppose. We are heading towards spring, and the sun has shined a little bit more than recently. And tell us about quotes, because that's probably what's going to happen to us next in our favourite phase of the season. It's going to be lots of people ringing up saying they've got issues with their lawns. It could be anything, if you're a different sort of business, but. Has your quotation technique sort of changed in the last in the last sort of 20 years since when you first started? And I think for me as well, it's probably since COVID. So what about you in Lawns One?
Well, I think the original way was you get a phone call, you go out, see the client, put a quote together, come back to the office, type something out, send it across on an email. Now it's a mixture of selling on the phone, visiting clients. We still do a reasonable amount of visiting clients for surveys. I know a lot of other companies don't, and they prefer to sell on the phone, but I think for us, we're often solving specific or particular problems that other companies haven't been able to do. So that visit is necessary, and I think also, our pricing kind of incorporates that as well. So the customer service, the visit, the meeting, the whole shebang. I think we try to do a bit more selling on the phone and try to reduce our costs in that way. And I think our website was a step towards that. Is getting people to be able to buy without us even sort of speaking to them on some occasions, and that's working already. So I think for me it's a mixture. I think people still, some people are happy to have someone come round and want someone to come round. Some people are happy to have a conversation on the phone, and some people are happy to go ahead without any contact at all. So I think the biggest change is us offering that selection. And I think something we've also done recently is move into kind of offering different kind of packages as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you about packages later, because that's of interest, and we have actually been asked a question about that. But talking of questions, we do get them in from the listener, but actually
the
maybe
floodgates have opened, and we have a question.
Do they? Well, let me hold on to that question then, Martin, because I'm of an age where I can't switch my microphone on, and I'll forget the one I was going to ask you. So. And I probably have gone and forgotten it. My question to you about sort of my question is a question for the listeners that do actually do selling over the phone, because I probably do selling over the phone the same as you do selling over the phone, but I probably don't class it as selling over the phone because it's not actually, I don't think it's a hard sell. We do a lot of following up all the quotations. We have an online tool that people can measure their own lawns and send that in, and we follow those up in exactly the same way to say, did the quote arrive, which obviously hopefully it did. Did we identify the right house, and have you got any questions? Because I think then it leads into people that then ask more questions about how do they fix their lawn or the issues they've got, and that's all part of building up a confidence and a rapport with us as a business. And I'd imagine you do it in a similar sort of way, but would you say that's correct?
I'd say you're spot on, John. I think that trust element is crucial, and we call it sales, but actually we're problem solving. Someone's coming to us because they have a problem with their lawn. We have solutions. We match those solutions to those problems, and we give a price for doing so. And if people want to go ahead, that's great. If they don't, that's no problem either. And I think, that's the mark of running a good business. The more people that say yes, the better you're running your business.
Yeah. So it will be interesting to know, it'd be interesting to hear some feedback from people that do sort of say, well, we do selling on the phone, as to what their technique is. I think the game changer for us has been technology and Google Earth, and how we use sort of Google Earth and online measuring. And I know we can do that, but your plumber might not be able to. But actually, we needed to get our gutters cleaned at home, so I actually did the same thing and sent the picture of the house with the measurements of the guttering and the lengths and everything to the guy that was doing the quote, and he thought it was brilliant. So there's lots of other industries, I suppose, you can apply what we're doing.
I think with website bots and that sort of thing now, and you can ask that information and glean that from your customer to reduce your costs in quoting, and at least give an idea. And as long as you're giving a in your terms and conditions, there is once we're on site, if there are any changes, we'll obviously adjust the price accordingly, so you're not actually tied into a price you've given them. Then I think that sort of covers you.
Well, I have a little chuckle when you see some of the pictures that we get a picture of the area they've drawn, and some of them are quite sort of interesting, really. But but I suppose you could say that's down to the product that you're using. So we've done the quotation. The customer's got an idea of price. They've got an idea of sort of plans. We'll come back to packages. For me, the next important thing is the survey, which you've described really well there, and you'll have to describe it again in terms of once you're there, you're then looking at and understanding what they want to achieve and the canvas that you're looking at and what needs to be done. So for me, I think that initial survey is vital, because it's sort of, again, building up the rapport with the customer, but also understanding what we can and what we can't do.
I think that's a valid point there as well, John. It's like what work do you say no to? You know, if you like, we've all had it where we've had a customer, and this is right across the board in business. We've all had those customers that give you that sense that, you know, maybe they're not the right customer for you. Trust your instincts. Either quote much more than you normally would to factor in the aggro factor, or avoid them and just say no. I think it's good to know which customers you want.
And I think it's the ideal opportunity to be, and possibly one of your only opportunities, to be a bit brutal in terms of the customers you want, or actually describing what they need. And if they decide not to do that, that's fine. And if they want to carry on with your services, that's fine. But they're not going to achieve the lawn that they're describing they want, or the end result that they want. Yeah.
Setting or agreeing to expectations. It's a huge part of what we do, isn't it? It's like, you know, if they're wanting a bowling green, it's unlikely, unless you're going there every week, that you're going to get that kind of finish if they're not prepared to put the work in as well. Yeah.
And typically, for the people that want a bowling green, they normally only want to cut it once a fortnight, so they're never going to get a bowling green anyway. So
marrying up expectations.
It's your chance to manage that. So we've done our quote. We're going through a bit of a cycle here, aren't we? We've done our quote. We've been out there. We've seen the customer, and now we're making our recommendations. So the question I think we had, did you say it was on packages or something?
Just offering different packages this year. I mean, we've always offered the services, but it's how you market them, I guess.
And are you doing that now?
We have done on the website, because we feel it's necessary to do that. But when we're in person, we will assess a lawn and we will offer recommendations based on our assessment of that lawn. So I know that some companies will go out and they'll try and get the lawn care treatment side of things, and then once they're in, they'll try and upsell the renovation packages. If it needs renovating, we'll tell them there and then, and we'll give you a price for them, because I don't think there's any point in beating around the bush. It's like, this is what it needs, this is what we're going to price for, and we're not doing our job properly. If we tell you we're going to just weed kill and put a fertiliser on, we're not doing our job properly. And that's, again, setting our expectations. And I'm sure that we lose a bit of work for that, but I feel comfortable in doing that. So,
yeah. Well, you've got to. It comes back down to your visions and values, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's about delivering that lawn. So our experience on that is we were probably the person that you described there as being happy as a lifestyle business. We were probably happy to have the packages because they were easy to manage. You can easily the sort of the lawn care customer, because they're easy to manage. You can schedule them in, and we didn't have the capacity to do all that sort of renovation and mechanical work.
Yeah.
And also what we found is, so that was one of our reasons for sort of a few years ago not really doing packages. But one of the things that I suppose our first sortie into packages was on mechanical works, where we actually had 3 lines on an invoice that we was going to put down the scarifying, we was going to put down an overseeding, we was going to put down a soil improver, and that was 3 lines in the package. Each was priced. On the invoice, each was priced. And people would say to us, do I need all that? So actually, we took all that hassle away from the customer and just called it a package name. So we call that Lawn Refresh, and it's refreshing the lawn because we're overseeding the whole lot. And actually, that added value to our invoicing, and it actually made it easier for the customer because they understood it a bit more, and there was less chance of people saying, well, I don't want that bit and I do want that bit, because that wasn't going to give them, back to your point, that wasn't going to give them the lawn that they've told us that they wanted.
Yeah. So that's the communication part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think now what we've done is we've almost modernised our business anyway, probably by accident rather than by design. But we now talk to... what we realised is that if people started in a basic package, we really struggled to trade them up because the basic package was really good. And actually now what we do is we start them off on a package and we keep them there, and they seem comfortable with that.
Well, it's really funny you said that. I saw a few posts on Facebook about this particular thing. A couple of American companies that had kind of hit a wall at 1,500, 2,000 clients, and they were talking about having an entry level program that would be cheaper, obviously, and then get more customers. And the experience and the comments back were, don't do it. All you're going to do is get grief. You're going to get lower paying customers who are wanting more. They want your service that you're offering all your other customers, but they don't want to pay for it. And it's a load of grief. So I think know your place in the market and communicate that to your customers, and don't be afraid to say no to people.
Yeah. And I think for me, 20 years ago when we started the business, I set out never to actually ask somebody in my opening sort of question, what's your budget? I've never ever asked that question, what is your budget? I've always done what you've sort of said, this is what your lawn needs, and we labelled it as a good, better, best. And actually most people had gone for...
Is that the dog, John?
Better. It is the dog. That's young Pixie coming in yet.
Morning, Pixie.
She's come to sit by the fire. Oh, and here's Flint. Right, so yeah. Oh, you're doing a lot of talking, Martin.
Am I?
So what? I'll let you do this bit because.
What? Because I'm doing a lot of talking.
Well, no, because I like listening to you.
Oh, God.
Just tell us your bit about lifetime value, because I think that sort of it's interesting to look at your lifetime value and to start thinking about your business in a different way, because again the trilogy was the past, the present and the planning for the future, and actually lifetime value is becoming a big part of that future, isn't it? Because it sort of it demonstrates your business sort of stability and opportunity and everything. So actually I think understanding more about people's lifetime, your business lifetime value is really good to focus on, regardless of what stage you're at. Or am I just waffling?
No, I think it's critical. It's critical, and I think when you're one-man band, maybe 2 or 3 people, it's a lot easier to keep those customers because you have so much more control, and your relationship is there with those customers. As you grow and team members change and come and go, it's a lot more difficult to control. But the lifetime value, there's 2 things I would say on it. It's critical to scale because you need those customers to stay with you. It's critical for planning because you need to be able to know what you're going to do in the future, or have some kind of historic record that indicates what your future sales and revenue might be. But I think it's also good to know to apply your gross profit margin percentage to your lifetime value. So, for example, if you have a customer that spends £100 a year with you, and your average lifetime is 5 years, you've got £500. So if you've got a 50% gross profit margin, then £250 of that is gross profit, and that's really key to know, because you can then see how much it costs to acquire that customer. So basically what you're saying is, I am going to earn £250 from my £50 acquisition cost. So actually I'm making £200 from that customer. Does that all make sense?
To me or to the listener?
Well, I'm looking at you, and you're looking, and you're looking like, where's the off button?
It makes perfect sense, Martin.
Yeah. Well, if it doesn't, then tell me, listener, and I will endeavour to be clearer.
Rid of the other bloke. I think it does, and actually, I was talking to a potential supplier to Greener Gardens the other day, and we were talking about that in terms of referrals, and she comes up with, you need to understand your lifetime value, because actually your lifetime value, exactly what you've talked about there in terms of what your marketing spend is, you could spend that lifetime value or a percentage of that lifetime value on a referral scheme. Or on a referral sort of incentive, and it was really good to look at not just my lifetime value in terms of how many years they've been with us, but actually what amount of money they spend with us. And it was.
Well, I suppose
it was good, and that's why I thought we should sort of try and do it again.
Well, I suppose it gives you a different view of your acquisition cost. So, I mean, you could say, right, okay, well, £150 to acquire a customer is a lot of money if they're only spending £150 a year, because you're thinking, well, I'm not making any money year one. But if they're staying with you for 10 years, that's 150 quid for 1,500 quid. Yeah. You know, it just makes you look at it very differently.
And actually, in my early years in repping, and you were sat there with a garden centre sort of buyer, it was, well, I must make this profit on return, but you can't go and bank a profit on return. What you bank is cash. And actually, I think this conversation that I had last week and the analysis I was doing last week and our conversations here actually say, well, although they might be talking about quite a high percentage and quite a high number, actually, when you look at the return on that investment, it's also well worth the money, and it's not a lot of money really over that period of time. But just looking at it in the here and now, it probably does feel a difference. And you've got to train your mind to think about and probably understand the numbers a little bit better or rounded,
and
because
sorry, John,
to maintain your sanity really.
Oh, and also it's just a different perspective. It's taking a step back and saying, right, how does my business fit in a 5-10 year period as opposed to this year? And what do I need to achieve? And you know, because those figures look very different. If you're looking at lifetime value over 5, maybe 10 years, I don't know, that looks very different. Yeah.
I think there's a great opportunity for our listeners to send in some questions.
John, you use plural.
I know. Well, I do know. I've had messages in from.
We have closet listeners. Those that subscribe but don't tell anyone. Too afraid of the backlash.
No, I've had to Google. As you know, I'm not very good with technology, but one of my messages was move over Stephen Bartlett. Well, I think he's been on the Dragon's Den, and Jake Humphries, but I need to Google him.
The High Performance Podcast, Jake Humphries, and Diary of a CEO. There you go. I think they're big boots to fill. I don't think they're worried about us.
Well, I'm going to move on to, the podcast and our personal development then, Martin, because I think this is a suitable time to transition to that.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you, doing this podcast, I mean, we're having by making it visual, we're actually having quite a bit of a laugh, really, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're enjoying it.
Heaven forbid it was just audio with you not turning the mic on. That'd be quite dull.
It would be. We'll have to do the start with all the outtakes. But how on a sincere note, you know, one of our talks often comes across mentally and us personally in our personal development. But what have you learned from doing the podcast? That's the easiest thing, isn't it? What have you learned?
To care less.
Really?
Yeah, I think I've done videos and bits and pieces before, and I'm very self-conscious. And I think this was a bit of a leap of faith, and I was worried about what people would think. And but now, having done it, there's it's just like I say to my guys, it's a new comfort zone. You get used to it, and actually, my biggest thing is that I would love this to be a success. I don't know whether it's going to be a success. I think we've got to give it some time. But the comments that we've had back from people already are really encouraging and very, very heartfelt and lovely. And I think that's a fantastic thing. So there's always going to be haters, aren't there? But I think for me, it's care less about what other people think, and get on and do it. Don't let things stop. Don't let fear stop you doing stuff.
Well, that's brilliant. And
you?
And for me, we haven't discussed this because we're sort of pretty much off piece now. But for me, I would say exactly the same. I was fearful that what would have looked like on a screen would have come across as a bit of.
Well, that's terrible. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Am I helping?
My new camera position is brilliant. I've still got some work to do on that, but there we go. But actually, my walking buddy was off last weekend, and I listened to the podcast that we posted, and then I had to go and listen to the one before that, and the one before that, and the one before that, and actually, I really enjoyed them. And I
you were there.
And I was there. I was there, but I really enjoyed them, and I've shared them with a few people now, and they've all talked about the nice energy, and it's two people just having an informative and knowledgeable chat. So, and like you, I've actually gone and bought myself a gimbal for my phone, and I've done a couple of Facebook videos. The sound was awful. I think I need to buy myself a new phone, but I've got to run that one past Kate first. But yeah, it's made me do a few things that I never thought I would do, and actually, they're not. The result is way better than I thought. So. I'll raise another glass to you one of the nights, not in the morning to drink that wine, but I think it's been great for us. So yeah.
Well, we're a team, right? So
yeah,
it works. But I think for me, I suppose it's also, you want to be, when you're presenting yourself to the world or to one listener, you want to present your best side, and often that's not always the way. Some of the posts I put up, the images are rude words. They're rubbish. But I'm slowly learning how to get all that done, and I'm sure within time that'll all come together. So I suppose that's the other lesson is don't try for perfection. It's just start, and then hone your skills. And I think a lot of people don't start something for that reason, because they want it to be perfect, especially in this day and age when you've got Instagram and all the rest of it. But you've got to start. What's that saying? You've got to start to be great.
Yeah, well, I was what was going through my mind there is I'm so glad that as part of this process we did the past, the present and the planning, and we talked about things like the importance of networking, because actually what you've just talked about there, perfection is stagnation, is what one of the speakers said to us this year, and it's so easy not to make the start because you haven't got the end result sort of correct, but you don't know what the end result is until you make a start. So, and and what's the worst that can happen?
You can be ridiculed online for the rest of your life.
Well, you could, but I'm doing a good job of that myself, aren't I? So,
well, that's a very self-indulgent piece, but it's probably a good point to which to ask our listener if they wouldn't mind liking, subscribing, and sharing, isn't it?
Well, it is.
Do you want to ask them to do that?
Well, no, I think you've just done that very eloquently, Martin. I think what I would add is that if it is being useful, and our chats are useful, our half an hour to the unit, which is now in the sort of what I call the bunker at home. If these chats are useful, then please share it, like and ask us a question, and we'll do our best to
definitely ask
to
us
answer
a question, because at this point we don't know whether we're hitting the mark with what people want to know. So those questions are really important.
I've got some more questions for you, Martin, which is topical, but I'm going to save them till next time.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I think this will be something. We're just mixing it up and trying different things. So I think
Just getting going, John.
I know. Well, we've been going for like over half an hour, Martin. We've got to think of the listener getting to work. But I think what I'd like to ask you about next week, so you've got a bit of time to think about it, is delegating, and how good at delegating you think you may be, or how much of a challenge you think it may be. Because I've been on a journey of delegating, and I realise that I realise that I need to work. I realise that on some of the things that I've delegated in the past, I may have actually sort of delegated and took it back.
John, this is supposed to be a teaser for next week, and you're talking about it.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying. Okay, I'll shut up.
Right, so delegation is next week.
Do you think that'll be a good subject, Ed?
Well, let's give it a bash.
Give it a bash. Okay, well, I'm done then, Martin. I think
That's it. That's all we've got.
I don't know whether to leave the microphone on for the week, or shall I switch it off?
Well, without further ado, John, can you take us out?
Okay then. So me and Martin, we will certainly keep having these conversations, because they cheer us up, and I think you can see that we enjoy each other's company, and Martin's got loads of positive energy. And it's about making mistakes, it's about growth, it's about the pressure and planning of running a business. So hopefully you realise by now we're not experts. We've been around for a while. We're not preaching to people. We're just giving people, we're just giving our sort of honest advice and honest reflection. So if it has been useful, feel free to follow us or share it with somebody. I've been told that's really good for a podcast, so please do that. And if there is a question that you're wrestling with, send it in, and we'll see if we can explore it or build it into a future episode. So that's it from John from Nottingham, and see you next week.